And during the treatments, that was the time I was the most anxious in my life. Like, I've never struggled with anxiety, but during that time, I was
Mm.
so anxious. And I have a great supportive system. My family was very supportive of it, my friends. And I remember thinking, wow, if I'm this anxious and I have the tools, as a mental health person, I wonder what it's like for the average woman who doesn't have the tools.
Hey there, it's Kelly from Me. Before we get started on today's episode, I want to invite you to one of our greatest trainings ever. It's how to build and grow a profitable solo or group practice sustainably. All you got to do is check it out at zinime.com/podcast. All right, on to our episode. Today, we're joined by Dr. Wiyatta Fambule, who is a psychologist that I
Hmm.
would say is bi-coastal in my
Yes.
viewpoint. But we're going to be talking about her story of starting from scratch, the lessons learned, and where she sees the future of her private practice going. Welcome, Wiyatta. It's good to see you.
Kelly, it's good to see you as well,
Well,
always.
let's talk about why private practice. I mean, as a psychologist, there's so many ways that you can do this work. Why this?
Hmm. Why private? From the time I went to graduate school, I always knew I was going to go into
You
private
did.
practice. And so this is a funny statement. I always say this. I'm like, I am not the best employee. I'm a great employee. Like when I have a job, I'm great. I do my work, I show up, but I hate asking people for time off.
Mm.
I hate having other people dictating what my day is supposed to look like. So I always been like, in my practice, I want to do things my way. And when I have staff, I don't need to micromanage you. Just do what you need to do and then check in. And that's what I wanted. And so that's why it was important for me to go into private practice. Also, you know how it is when you work at organizations, you're a generalist. You see everybody, every mental health disorder. And I think it's good for
Yeah.
anyone in the beginning of their career to get
Yeah.
that experience for however many years, get that experience. So I cherish that experience. But I wanted to specialize. I wanted to specialize and I wanted my day to not feel like I was at
Hmm.
a job. When I see my clients, it didn't feel like work. So, yeah, I do get mentally drained sometimes at the end of the day, but it's not the same, like, sometimes seeing, like, 10 to 12 clients a day as opposed to 2 to
Hmm.
3, which is what I wanted, or having certain days off, of being able to, like, shift my schedule if I need to because of something coming up. So, that was why private practice was important, and just financial freedom and having the and not being yeah, having my own time and having
How
financial
did it fit
freedom.
into the trajectory of your career? Why did you start when you started, I guess? Because sometimes it's timing, right? Some people want to start straight out of the gate. Some people don't. For me, right, it was that crisis of I'm about to just leave this entire field. So, what was it for you that
Um,
prompted the timing?
ooh, wow, it was a lot of things. So, number 1, well, when I started, I knew I'm a clinical forensic psychologist by
Hmm.
education. So, that means whenever the law and psychology come together. So, I started off working in, correctional settings. So, I worked at the California Department of Corrections, and then I went to work with a federal detention center. So, that I For some rea I don't know, when I first started, I thought I was going to go down that route and eventually maybe go towards, like, the Federal Bureau of Investigations or something, but I went with Homeland Security, and then, like I said in the beginning, I knew I wanted to be able to dictate what my time would look like, what my days would look like. So but I also wanted the experience so that when I did go into practice, I had, like, a strong
Hmm.
foundation. And funny thing is, I started by practicing. I never First of all, I never thought I would work with women. And I started working with men. I was like, I don't want to work with
Hmm.
women. And now my whole practice has changed. I work with mostly women
Hmm.
by choice. So let me see, I'm trying to remember the full question. So one of the things that prompted me to go into private practice, also working with corrections was pretty, as much as I enjoyed the work, I enjoyed the clients, I didn't enjoy the
Yeah,
politics.
I can only imagine. Yeah.
And it just became emotionally
Yeah.
draining for me. So it didn't feel good going into work. I was always on edge. It just didn't feel good. I didn't care for people trying to manipulate you or make you think, even though you have all this education, you have all this experience, that you're a bad clinician or you don't know what you're doing. Like I constantly have to tell you what you're doing. And I'm like, I don't need that. I'm a professional. And I show up 100%, which was CDCR. I wasn't that way at Homeland Security. So, but now I get to make those decisions. And when I do have questions, I can consult with people who are
Mhm.
professional. And I wanted more of that where I felt like, I have autonomy over my time. And to trust what I was doing and to know that I was doing the best for my clients. And so that's kind of what led to it. And then, so what really pushed me into it is I was working at a federal detention center with Homeland Security, and then the pandemic happened, and
Right.
nobody knew what lockdown meant. I had no
Mhm.
idea what it meant, but I knew I didn't want to go into a facility not vaccinated at the time. We didn't know what this meant. I have respiratory issues, and I'm just like, I don't know what this means for me. I need to work
Mhm.
from home, and I started working from home, and they wanted me to come back to work, and I'm like, well, I think now is the time to do it. So I just put in my resignation in January something 2021,
Mhm.
I think. I resigned from my job.
How was that
Yeah.
transition, right? Between having this career, this income, healthcare benefits, all that, and then whoop, now into your own private practice.
You know, it's interesting. I don't know if it was because I did business
Mhm.
school boot camp with you guys. I did boot camp in
Mhm.
2019. And I think the foundation that I got from boot camp really helped me understand what I wanted my practice to
Mhm.
look like. I knew there would be challenges because you're starting a new business, but I wasn't winging anything. So even though it was scary to take that leap, I believed in what I was doing. And I'm like, this is going to be successful. What I did know was like, my practice is going to be a slow build because I'm not taking insurance. And people are like, are you crazy? You're not taking insurance? I'm like, no, I'm not taking insurance. And this is what my practice is going to look like. This is who I'm marketing to. And then to add to that, my best friend, she's like a big time marketing creative director executive. So she also played a role into how I shaped my practice. So between boot camp and her, I felt like I can do this. Like, now is the best time
How
to
did you
do
manage
this.
it in the financial sense? I'm kind of curious because that's something that some people talk about. Like, do some people choose to do both, until they're making a certain amount of income?
Mhm,
Some people save in order to make the leap. Some people have another income,
mhm,
source or whatever. I'm just curious for you.
mhm. So my practice is interesting because in addition to seeing clients, I actually subcontract with
Mhm.
other companies. So what I did was I landed a
Mhm.
subcontract, which I saw as like a
Yeah.
steady form of income. But even with that subcontract, I told them I can work this time, this time. So even now I still subcontract because that pays my business. So having that subcontract, so when things get slow for me, like around August, I'll increase
Mhm.
that subcontract. So I have that money coming in. So it was never now there was a hit to me financially because the steady income
Mhm.
was great, but I took a financial hit. But I had to wait. Like even now, like a few weeks ago, a friend of mine was visiting who still works at like she works with California Department of Corrections. And I'm like, wow, the steady paycheck and all of this. But she was like, but look at this, your time. And what people say to me is like, I wish I had the time. Like you can change your
Mhm.
schedule as you want, you know? So I've always maintained subcontract. So, um, I have one that I do evaluations. All my subcontracts are evaluations. And then I have a like that I do evaluations for Social Security or one that is niche specific to me, I do sperm donor evaluations or egg donor evaluations, and I
Yeah.
subcontract with different companies. So that's a way that I've been able to
Yeah.
maintain my practice. It's not just one thing
Right.
that
I
I'm
think that
doing.
that's for people that are listening when Wiyatta's talking about like how it goes through her business. Basically, as a subcontractor, she's having her business be the entity that is signing those contracts. So
Yeah.
all the money flows to the private practice. But then she has
Mhm.
multiple streams of income. One is contracts, one is her cash pay
Mhm.
clients. And so she started her
Mhm.
practice as a subcontractor. That was her first like way of
Yeah.
generating the income. And then she added in the counseling side, the therapy side, which is actually reverse of what some people do. They usually think, oh, I have to start with, seeing individual clients, but you don't. You can start in any angle. You just got to start somewhere.
You're right. Yeah, you get
Yeah.
to design it, and that's the great thing about it. You get to design what your practice look like. And that was one of the things when you guys were like, "What do you want your day to day to look like?" And I really took that question like, "What do I want my day to day to look like?" Like for me, I don't like seeing clients on Mondays. So Mondays are blocked off. I'll do meetings, I'll, do social media stuff, but I don't, unless it's an emergency, I don't see
Mhm.
clients on Mondays. If it's contract or individual, none of it. I don't see clients on Mondays. I do Tuesday to Fridays. Some days I'll do, some weeks I'll do Saturdays because I'm like, okay, I'll
Mhm.
work today.
I like it.
You
Yeah.
know?
Can we talk about the switch from, oh, I'm not going to see women in my practice to, oh, now that's a lot of what I do.
Yeah. Well, so, okay. So it was when I first started my career, I was
Mm,
like, no, I'm not going to see. But what happened throughout my career, even though I was working at the prison, I was working with all males. When I went to the feds, I was working with
mhm,
men and women. But throughout my years in psychology, the women always found me and they always came to talk to me. Like if it was coworkers, anything, they would always come and talk to me. And then also at California, um, at CDCR, I was what you called a union steward. And so we would represent other mental health staff. And some of the mental health staff I represented against the management were women. Like I was standing up for the other women, like against management who were being targeted for some reason. And I realized like there's something about this that is really special that I really enjoy connecting with women. So that was the professional women side. Now, I have I have like my professional women and then I have my fertility niche. So how that came about was I went through fertility challenges and I went through fertility treatment and during the treatments, that was the time I was the most anxious in my life. Like, I've never struggled with anxiety, but during that time, I was
mm,
so anxious. And I have a great supportive system. My family was very supportive of it, my friends. And I remember thinking, wow, if I'm this anxious and I have the tools, as a mental health person, I wonder what it's like for the average woman who doesn't have the tools. And while I was going through the treatment, my reproductive endocrinologist at the time said, "Why don't you talk to a reproductive psychologist?" I was like, "What? They have people
mm,
who do that?" She was like, "Yes." And I called one of my girlfriends. I was like, "Oh my God, I think that's something I need to do because I'm so anxious. I want to talk to other women." So even if they have supportive partners or friends, but they can go somewhere and be vulnerable. So that's how the
mm.
whole thing
And I think
started.
that that's common that we find ourselves in the practices we create. Our story interweaves.
Yeah, it
How
is
far
really
out do you
common.
feel like you needed to be in terms of your own healing in that process to be able to do that kind of work?
So I went through treatments in 2016, and it wasn't until to like 2021 that
Mhm.
I started seeing
Yeah.
clients for that.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that that's the other
Yeah.
thing is that when we're in the midst, just trying to like come to our own center and then from there we can figure out when
Mhm.
the fog has cleared, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's really 'Cause, when you go through something like that, the grief is
Yeah.
always there. It's not as intense as the beginning, but with grief, it comes and goes. So, but I love when I can help not only women, but women and couples, like, heterosexual couples, same sex couples,
Mhm.
navigate what this journey is like
Mhm.
for them, or what some expectations might be, or something they may not
Mhm.
have thought about, especially when it's involving third party, like if they're using like a
Mhm.
donor or surrogate something, which can be just everything that comes with that, being upset at your body's failed you, whatever
Mm.
thoughts you have.
Mhm.
I feel so humbled and honored when people come to me to trust me with such vulnerable issues.
What do you think niching has done for your practice or for you?
I think for me, it was the best thing because it's so funny when people say, "Oh, you're an expert." I'm like,
Yeah,
"Yeah, I
you
guess
are.
I am." That's the thing. I'm like, I'm an expert. So, and it's opened many doors for me, first of all, from um, doing things like this, like going on podcasts or speaking at conferences or training, going into practices or corporate organizations and doing training. So niching has really opened the door in a way that I don't know if it would have happened if I was a
Mhm.
generalist. Yeah, because people really respect that, but it also give me, like, when I do my studying, I can focus on the professional women, and which a lot of times the professional women are also the
Mhm.
fertility clients, so they kind of overlap. But I can focus on those things and just really know my
Mhm.
stuff,
Yeah.
if you will, and be and if I have questions about something, I can consult with people in my fertility community, or I have another psychology friend. She's amazing, and we consult all the time, just working as professional women. Like, what is it like to work with you? Okay, when I first started, I was really intimidated by my
Mhm.
clients. I was intimidated because I'm like, this one is a CEO, and I'm like, "Oh, she's coming to talk to me," and I had to tell myself, like, "Wait, but she's not coming to you as a
Right.
CEO, she's coming to you as a person who's struggling with something, so you need to get out of your head with the fact that
Well,
she's a CEO or she's an actress or whatever she is, and work with what's going on." So, that's what niching has done for me, is helped me, like, focus on forget about who this person is or what they do, what are
mhm.
they here for, and how can you go on the journey with them so they make different changes and recognize the patterns in their
I
life?
love that. Last year you moved
Yeah,
from one coast to the
I
other.
did. I did. I moved from my lovely Los Angeles
How
to
has having a private practice supported that, or has it shifted anything for you?
other than time zones, it hasn't really
Mhm.
shifted. Like, it hasn't shifted anything for me, just like the time zone. So, like, my California clients, I'm like, 4 o'clock, we're done.
Mhm.
I'm not seeing anybody up to 7 p.m. because my brain is
Mhm.
like, "Girl, go to sleep." But the move, again, having that
Mhm.
flexibility, I was able to take off like maybe a week and a half or 2 weeks because I drove across
No.
country. It took a week to drive across country and another week to recoup from the drive. So it's been just the flexibility. I've Having that flexibility has just been
Mhm.
amazing. That's all I can say. Um, it's opening doors for me in Maryland. It's been a little slower
Mhm.
here, but it took me a year to get my license. So I wasn't really focused on building a practice here. But now that I have my license in Maryland, I am open
Mhm.
to seeing clients in Maryland. One of the things that's happening also is that I'm shifting from seeing so many individual clients to doing more trainings or
Mhm.
speaking. So I'm not focusing on like building a huge individual client practice in Maryland. So most of my individual clients are
Mhm.
in California.
So where do you see the future of your practice going then? You've already kind of brought up some of the speaking stuff.
Speaking, I love
Mhm.
training. I love speak going into organizations and training, be it a corporate environment or healthcare environment. I would love to I always listen. 2 years ago, I said I want people to start flying me out and paying for
Mhm.
me to speak, and last year it started happening. So I
I
want
love
more of
that.
that, more on an international level. It's private practice also opened me up to something I couldn't do when I worked with the prison was
Mhm.
social media, having a social media presence and a social media presence as a psychologist. Not I'm not just Wiyatta, I'm Dr. Wiyatta on there. So having this presence and really getting information out there to people on a bigger scale. Because sometimes I'm like, "Oh my god, this person is Australian. They're saying something to me," like, so people over the world, even though it might not be like I don't have a huge social media following, but people are watching, and I'm sharing information with people, so I love that. Eventually, all the little birds in my ears are like, "So when you write the book?" And I'm like, "Why has everybody told me about this book that I'm writing? So maybe I
I
might write a
love it.
book."
Things can go fast, y'all. Like, you can go from
Mhm.
starting to, you know, s clients and moving and speaking. I mean, this is the playground to create. That's what I believe about private practice. Is why I'm such an advocate
Mhm.
for it, because it's where we gain our sovereignty and really explore, like, our power, as creators, of our lives and
Yeah.
our businesses.
It's amazing. One thing that I will say, I'm glad that I did. I credit a lot to
Aw,
Business Boot Camp, and not just because I'm talking to you, but I really do. And one thing that was minor was like the financial aspect. Like, oh my God, what do I do? How do I charge my clients? And for you, what you guys laid out for me was like, don't focus on what everybody else is doing. What is it that you need in your business? What is it that you're wanting
yeah.
to accomplish? What do you want your life to look like? Base your what you charge based on that, and then also think about your years of expertise. So with my private clients, when I can say this is my rate, and to be able to say, because in the beginning I was like, this is my rate, oh my god, what can right? But now I'm like, this is my rate, and and those who want to come on, but like anything else, I know like everyone's not
Yeah,
my client. But something else that came about is like the people who contact me are the clients that like niche that I want to work with. So I'm not getting most of my clients are not, if a guy contacts me, it's usually something having to
yeah.
do with fertility. But other than that, like men are not contacting me, teenagers are not contacting me because that's my practice
Yeah,
is,
it's clear.
it's very clear in my marketing
It's
language.
beautiful. So, as we're kinda
Mhm.
wrapping up here, for someone that is starting out, what do you want them to know? Do you have any words of encouragement or advice?
Yes. Don't don't wing it. Like get some sort of foundation so so you know what you're doing. You're constantly going to be learning things. Things you're going to do and be like, oh, I think I need to go and redo that. But don't wing it from the beginning. Have some sort of foundation. Does that mean you get a mentor? Does that mean you do training with someone who has done this before? Whatever it is, be specific. Specific with what you want to do, who you want to work with, and what type of practice you want to
Mhm.
have. That's
It's
really
beautiful.
important.
All
Yeah.
right. Well, thank you all for listening. We had to thank you for being here. It's always a
Thank you
treat,
so
like,
much.
to be in your presence, even, like, when we chat online. I really
I
do love
know.
it, and I'm excited to see you on stages internationally. That's gonna be so amazing.
I love
So I
that.
hope all of you who are
Yeah.
listening, you stay inspired, that when you hear stories of like this and you think, yeah, but that's them. What about me? You can create
Mhm.
whatever you want to create. I really believe that. Even with everything
Yeah.
that's going on in the world right now, the way you go about that might look a little different than it did 5 years ago, but
Mhm.
your voice is needed. Your expertise is needed. And we'd love to support you. So check out our free trainings at zinnyme.com, and we'll see you in the next podcast episode. Take care.
I hope you loved today's episode. If you're a therapist who's tired of those long hours, low pay, and constantly battling burnout,
don't forget our free video training designed just for you on how to build and grow a sustainable, profitable solo or group practice. Head over to zynnyme.com/podcast to check it out today. Until next time.